Be as wise as serpents and gentle as doves. Hello everybody. Chemtrails block the sunlight, affecting photosynthesis and vitamin D production in the skin. This is an urgent alert. You get your vitamin D by exposing your bare skin to sunlight. You can't get the right amount of vitamin D your body needs from food. Photosynthesis requires sunlight. Your garden, farmers' crops need sunlight, else big problem. You need sunlight. Cancer destroys its host. Psychopaths destroy humanity. Both get destroyed in its destruction, but destroy anyways. In this video, you will see a takeoff sped up many times normal speed. You'll see ChemCloud, first layer. You'll see the space between ChemCloud layer number 1 and 2. You'll see ChemCloud second layer. You'll see the space above the second layer ChemCloud. You'll see chemtrails making the third layer of the ChemCloud. And that is why the sun is absent. This inhumane act of making ChemCloud layers is affecting photosynthesis, plants and algae, and vitamin D production in our skin. So how do you stop chemtrails? And I do mean you, because we all have to do something. We can't wait for someone else. I'm doing things. What are you doing? This should apply to all airports everywhere. How to stop chemtrails. 1. Stop chemtrail chemicals from entering all airports worldwide. Every day, all the time. 2. Stop every chemtrail-loaded aircraft from taking off worldwide, everywhere, and every day. This is especially for restricted locations as well, because this is where it can also happen. And we all know where that is. Or you can guess. We have to question all deliveries to airports and question all takeoffs. We need to get others to do the same. 1 billion questioners per day until it's stopped. So here is the quick version of a takeoff. You're going to see an aircraft taking off and going into 2 layers of ChemClouds. There's a space in between the 2 layers where you can clearly see that it's a space between the 2 layers. And then once you get up above that second layer, you'll see video and photos of the 3rd layer being formed. There's no way that there should be any kind of condensation or any kind of trails up at over 37,000 feet because the moisture is just too low. It would rapidly dissipate due to diffusion. It would never stay more than 25 seconds. Meanwhile, the trails you're gonna see are up there for probably hours, if not more. Here we are going through ChemCloud layer number 1. You can begin to see the top of ChemCloud layer number 1 in the sandwich, planes rotating. Leveling off. See, we're in the sandwich layer between layers number 1 and 2 of the ChemClouds. We'll soon be rising into the 2nd layer. Now we're into the 2nd layer. We'll be leaving the second layer rising above it. And you'll begin to see the third layer up above. You can just barely see it. It's coming. There we are. We're starting to get above the second layer, and you can just see up above. So we're almost above the second layer, and you can see in the distance that there's another layer higher up. There. That's 3 layers to block the sun. And these layers are huge. They're massive. It's almost continent wide. That's why everyone is having difficulty with lack of sun. So we're reaching cruising altitude soon of about 37,000 feet. So that second layer is below 37,000 feet. And there's a lot of blue. But you're gonna see some trails soon. There was a few just earlier. And now you're gonna see a sprayer. Here's a sprayer. Way up above the second layer, creating the third layer. See the sprayer there? Third layer is being formed above 37,000 feet to block the sun. How insane is that? And here's some photos from 37,000 feet. You see the chemtrail there. It's not a perfect picture, but hopefully you can see it. Here's another picture. This is looking up from 37,000 feet. If that was moisture, that would be gone quickly because the humidity up there is like 0. You'd have rapid diffusion. And here's another one. You can clearly see they're marking the spots to form what they're trying to form. That's over 37,000 feet. That's layer number 3. And there's another one. That's above, looking almost straight up as much as you can from an aircraft. So, we gotta stop this. You have to do something. I've been doing stuff. You have to do stuff. Don't expect others to do it. Now let's read the law. From the Criminal Code of Canada, Canadian Forces means the armed forces of Her Majesty raised by Canada. Did you understand that? It's the Royals' army, not yours or mine. From the Canadian Criminal Code, Her Majesty's forces means the naval, army, and air forces of Her Majesty wherever raised and includes the Canadian forces. This is the largest army on Earth, and yet we are being sprayed like bugs as this massive military force fails to act to protect. Start looking into all orbiting satellites and report your findings. Nothing in this act, meaning the criminal code, affects any law relating to the government of the Canadian forces. This is in the criminal code, meaning they are not subject to the criminal code. High treason. Everyone commits high treason who, in Canada, does things to Her Majesty like even imprison or restrains her. This means that the royals cannot even be imprisoned or restrained. This is a family out of control and needs this law abolished right now because psychopaths are bred when they cannot be disciplined. It is against the law to alarm Her Majesty, but what if her forces are harming humanity? Section 49 of the Criminal Code. Everyone who willfully, in the presence of Her Majesty, does an act with intent to alarm Her Majesty. Well, Her Majesty needs to be alarmed. Look at what's happening on Earth. Government means Her Majesty in right of Canada or a province. This means we are owned. How can a family own people? I guess except through extortion, intimidation, and murder. How to stop this? Claim a right. Claim a constructive trust, an equitable trust, over the Bank of Canada and the Royal Canadian Mint. Read this. Civil Air Navigation Services Commercialization Act. Aircraft, Section 4. This act applies in respect of every aircraft in Canadian airspace or any other airspace in respect of which Canada has responsibility for the provision of air traffic control services. Now, after reading this, think of who knows which planes flew over your house with a chemtrail. The royals can know the plane, its owner, and everything else about it. The Bank of Canada Act. Capital shares. Section 17, subsection 2. The capital shall be divided into 100,000 shares of the par value of $50 each, which shall be issued to the minister to be held by the minister on behalf of Her Majesty in right of Canada. This means that the royals own the central bank. Follow the money for chemtrails. Who else has money to do this? Not you and me. More on following the money. The Royal Canadian Mint Act. Shares. Section 3.1, subsection 3. The shares of the Mint are not transferable and when issued to the minister in accordance with this act shall be registered in the books of the Mint in the name of the minister and held by the minister in trust for Her Majesty in right of Canada. Again, the royals own the Mint. Who can easily afford to spray the world? When you own central banks and own the printing press, you can spray the world, you can have armies, you can do anything you want and get away with it. Oath of Death. Oath of Allegiance Act. I do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors, so help me God. Now, for almost everybody who works for the government, police, military, etc., you've taken that oath. You think that your oath is to protect Canadians. Your oath is to protect Her Majesty. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a new oath. So everybody, repeat after me if you want to. New oath. I, your name, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to my fellow man and the earth we live on, so help me God. I revoke all other oaths. So now, here's some more motivation to end the abuse on humanity. Determine the gross national debt, whatever that number is, and then figure out the best surplus ever. I've done this, and I've come up and divide the debt by the surplus, the current size debt, with the largest surplus ever, and your answer will be over 1,000 years. I did this calculation before, and it was 1,200 years. This is longer than the lifespan, by far, of a human being. Kings and queens and royalty, it's over. We need to act at common law to stop chemtrails.
Please welcome our Member of Parliament from Hamilton East Stony Creek, Wayne Marsden.
Well, good morning, graduates, and Mr. Barzetti and our platform guests, who aren't on a platform, by the way, and the parents who are so proud today of all the work you've done. And I want to say, beyond the fact that you've already created somewhat of a foundation of your life as you graduate today. You've got, as Paul says, a lot of opportunity ahead of you. But Paul referred to a recent election where we elected a lot of young people into the parliament of this country. And it's about time that there weren't always just old men in blue suits down there. And we had 4 young people elected from McGill. So you can imagine their ages. They're around 20, 21, 22. And it's one of the best things that has happened to our parliament in years. And I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I know you've got excitement ahead of you in the next few days. And once you get down the road a little bit, I want you to consider why Canada is such a great, great country. It's because we take care of each other, we look out for each other. So I'm going to ask you to do one other thing, and that is question authority. Question people like myself when we make decisions in the Parliament. Question people like Paul, or even the school board. Your duty as a citizen is to keep an eye on your elected politicians to ensure that they're doing the things that are needed to keep this country as great as it's been.
Mein Wort ist mein Schwert, es heilt Licht und Dunkelheit und macht Krieger jetzt bereit, ja. Mein Wort ist mein Schwert, oh, es heilt Licht und Dunkelheit und macht Krieger jetzt bereit, ja. Endlich aufzustehen und nicht mehr mitzugehen, wenn sie in Kriege ziehen. Oh, nicht mehr zuzusehen, wenn sie uns manipulieren. Nicht mehr mitzugehen, auch wenn sie meinen, dass sie uns regieren. Mein Wort ist mein Schwert, es hält Licht und Dunkelheit und macht Krieger jetzt bereit, ja. Mein Wort ist mein Schwert, oh, es hält Licht und Dunkelheit und macht Krieger jetzt bereit, ja. Endlich aufzustehen und nicht mehr mitzugehen, wenn sie in Kriege ziehen. Oh, endlich aufzustehen und nicht mehr mitzugehen, wenn sie in Kriege ziehen, ziehen. Sie erschaffen die Feindbilder selbst, unterstützen Rebellen mit Geld, bestücken Söldner mit Waffen und stürzen die Länder in Not, berichten von Terrorregimen auf allen erdenklichen Sendern, halten die Wahrheit aus den Bildern, bis alle Feind nach Hilfe schreien. Sie bauen den Terror in den Ländern auf und treten dann als ihre Retter auf. Überall Kriege inszeniert, die Menschen hinters Licht geführt.
Das ist der große Menschenfeind, der wirkliche Angreifer, der allerorts Verwirrung und Ohnmacht geschürt, die Länder destabilisiert hat, sodass wir alle ein möglichst großes Verständnis für ihre militärischen Einsätze haben in aller Welt. Für ihre Drohnen und Chemiewaffen, ihre Minen und Panzer und ihre Zerstörungsmaschinerien. Bis alles Öl und Gold und alle Schätze endlich allein ihnen gehören.
Doch jetzt ist Schluss, wir lassen unsere Männer, Brüder, Väter und Söhne Mein Wort ist mein Schwert. Es heilt Licht und Dunkelheit und macht Krieger jetzt bereit, ja.